And something else that's I'm scratching my head is, as tragic as all the deaths were, as tragic as the death was of Officer Sicknick, for over a month, we were told, and it's unrefuted in the press, that he was bludgeoned to death with a fire extinguisher. We saw in the video a fire extinguisher being thrown, and I condemn that. But the fact of the matter is, there was no blunt force injury now on Officer Sicknick. How would he really die?
More shameful comments from Republican Senator Ron Johnson. They're, I guess, alluding to some sort of conspiracy theory around the death of Officer Brian Sicknick, who was killed defending the Capitol against Trump rioters. Joining us now, delegate to the House of Representatives from the U.S. Virgin Islands and an impeachment manager in the second impeachment of Donald Trump, Democrat Stacey Plaskett. Stacey, good to see you. Great to have you on the show.
Isn't that an amazing statement?
Well, he never ceases to amaze and embarrass Americans. So after the heroic efforts to impeach, the case laid out by you and the other managers, where I guess the Republicans just couldn't find a way to be moved to convict, where do you think the quest goes from here as it pertains to accountability for Donald Trump, not only because of potential crimes committed in many different ways, but also to prevent a repeat in the next 4, 6, 8 years?
Sure. Well, I believe that we did an amazing job in terms of laying out who exactly Donald Trump was and what he used the presidency for. Brian Sicknick died, and the cause of his death was the president of the United States using a mob of insurrectionists to attack the Capitol to try and obstruct the peaceful transfer of power for his own fascist designs. That's how Brian Sicknick died. He and so many other police officers who were injured that day. And I think the American public saw in very clear, overwhelming evidence who the president was. And it's our belief that that evidence and showing that information will, in fact, keep him from ever holding office in the United States again.
Well, Daniel Goldman, who served as a lead counsel for House Democrats during President Trump's first impeachment hearing, has a new piece in the Washington Post entitled, "Lack of witnesses at Trump's trial is not the problem. Witness intimidation is." And he writes in part this: House managers indicated that Republican members of Congress and individuals close to Trump and Pence had refused to cooperate for fear of retaliation and retribution. Trump's propensity for witness tampering, intimidation, and retaliation is well known and began long before the 2020 election. His Stop the Steal campaign has created a loosely coordinated group of domestic terrorist organizations ready to inflict harm at his command. He may have lost the ability to issue a mean tweet, but his threats now come with violent supporters appended to them. In the aftermath of the Capitol riot, led by armed groups operating at Trump's direction, the former president's words and threats take on new meaning. Threats of violence are no longer abstract. With this backdrop, Trump's consistent record of intimidation is cause for grave concern to any other mechanism intended to hold him accountable in the future. So where do you think, is it, if a commission is set up, is it in the court system? Where will we be able to hear from these witnesses? Where can we hear from Mike Pence? Where can we hear from people inside the White House? Where can we hear from those who were there, who know what happened, and can add value to the case against Donald Trump? On what platform can we hear from them?
Well, let's hope that the many jurisdictions throughout the United States which are bringing up charges against the president, District of Columbia for inciting violence, Georgia for election tampering and election intimidation, New York going back to his finances, we were never able to find out issues related to violations of the Emoluments Clause while the president was in office. All of those things will continue to move forward. Mika, you're well aware that we are still in court battling through the court system to try and get the testimony of Mr. McCann from the first investigation and impeachment one. That is still an ongoing investigation by the House. So Mr. Goldman knows very well what the president is capable of. And that just to me highlights how incredibly brave Jamie Herrera Butler, Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and these other Americans, Senator Cassidy and the others, who've stood up to the intimidation of Donald Trump and his followers, the quest for power of the minority leader, Mitch McConnell, and others who, at any cost and by any means necessary, will obstruct and cause our republic and this union to potentially be at risk for their own design.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.